They got to go to bed, but that's just
Yeah, no, it's too much. So that's why, like,
that is
they all got into like Superman and Lois and Stargirl and all that stuff because we can watch all that together.
Didn't which CW shows did they keep?
Superman and Lois, Flash, Stargirl, and that might be it, man. They axed Naomi, Legends of Tomorrow, and
I can do
I
something.
think those are the only other.
Flash still going?
Flash is still going because Flash is a big ratings pull for them. But I don't know how much longer that's going to go because it seems like every year they got to renegotiate contracts with everybody on there.
Well, Discovery owns them now, and they're not trying to spend any money where they don't have to spend money.
Actually, they sold 75% of CW.
Yeah?
Like last week. I forget what company it is. That's why they cut all those other shows, not just the DC shows, but they cut a bunch of other shows. Because they need room. They need room for...
They were going to have a Green Lantern show, man.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Now it's
one is not happening no more?
Well,
no, it's a live action
live
one.
action, but that ain't happening either,
No,
I don't
that's
think.
not happening.
No, they don't. They have no idea what they're doing with those properties.
No, they trying to make Submariner
He's gonna be in.
like an Aztec.
Well,
I'm feeling it.
Me too.
I'm feeling it.
Like, man.
Yeah, because they never said anything about what area they came from.
Yo, he looks official. You see the pictures?
I've seen that. I've seen it.
Wow, I was like, yo.
I saw Namor. I saw Atuma. Atuma looked cool.
Yeah.
And, yeah, with the horns, right? Yeah, that's it. That's Atuma. Yeah, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked cool.
He's yeah. Shout out to Madness. Yeah. Rogue Nation 845. Bro.
I thought he looked cool.
He's even got the wings on the feet.
Yeah, Namor. Yeah, you gotta do that. It's gotta be.
Poor Aquaman.
Yeah, it's tough. You got Aquaman that came out and that thing was killer. You know.
Let's see what the new Aquaman does. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough.
DC's
That's a whole other story.
on a train ride home somewhere. I don't know where they're going. The Flash movie. They said they're gonna put the Flash movie out
How you do though?
because they put so much money into the Flash movie
Oh yeah, no.
that they have to make something back.
That's the thing is that like for me like I want Michael
time to
Keaton
get busy.
as Batman. I want that back so bad. But
I
like
seen
I
the
don't
new
know.
Batgirl.
But
She
how do you
look
do
good,
it though?
too.
He's gonna be. He's gonna be in
Yeah,
that too. He's gonna be in that too.
Batgirl?
No, Michael Keaton. Batman's
Yeah.
gonna be in that Batgirl movie.
Yeah, she looked good.
So no, I think she looks cool. She looks like right out of the more
Yeah.
recent comics.
Keaton looks pretty good as the amalgamated.
Yeah, I'm ready.
It's an amalgamated Affleck Keaton.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I used to draw comics for Marvel and DC back in the 90s, but then I got out of the business and I came by Alternaverse, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago, and that guy right there, Paul, was sitting there and I was talking to him, and I happened to mention that the first comics I ever owned included this particular Captain America 164 that had a werewolf cover, right, where the Falcon is turned into a werewolf. I was telling him, I really want to get that comic again. And there were a couple others, Captain Marvel number 26 and Avengers 104, I think it was, and some others. And so I was talking about these earliest comics, because my mom had forced me to sell my collection in '79. It was a huge collection. I had everything, okay? But the first comics, I knew which ones they were, because they were all totally beat up, right? After I learned to take care of my comics, I didn't beat them up anymore. So the ones that were beat up were the ones that I'd originally owned, right? So anyway, a little later, he comes into the store, and he has a copy of Captain America 164, and he gives it to me. I'm like, that's awesome. I know it's not an expensive comic, but I hadn't seen it in a long time, and it really brought back some nostalgia. So I was like, that's kind of cool. That's like when a guy at the dump in Pleasant Valley gave me a copy of Giant Size Man Thing #4 with a fantastic Frank Bruner cover of the Man Thing holding the other guy's hand, and it's burning. It's a beautiful cover. Anyway, so I had this, and I was thinking, you know, I really like this comic. I'm gonna make my own version of this cover, right? So I've got the comic here. I'll just read the story, and I'll make a wraparound cover for it, right, based on this. And then I thought, while I'm at it, let's do Thor #216, and we'll do the Avengers 104 and the Daredevil 111 and the other ones, right? So I got to work doing that. So I went ahead and I made these prints. Now the funny thing is that at a certain point, I was worried. Wait a minute, these are Marvel characters, right? Am I allowed to do this? I am. I worked for Marvel at one time. You know, I did Hellraiser, I did Nightbreed, and I did a Daredevil annual and some big, small stuff because I moved into the video game industry after that. But so I asked this friend of mine, Graham Nolan, and who's an artist you probably know from DC. And I said, is that okay or not? And he said, yeah, it's perfectly fine. You can do that as long as you've worked for them at some point. You can do that. And I was like, oh, good, because I want to do that. But in the meanwhile, I did one of my own, because I had a comic that became a TV series called Harsh Realm a long time ago. Not a good series, but, you know, TV series nevertheless.
Okay.
But anyway, so here's the covers. And if you want to look at them, you can. Should I flash them at you, or do you have to pick them? Okay, so this is the Captain America 164. Okay. You know what, actually, you're going to cast a shadow on it. Just lift, I'll hold it up for you. That way you're going to get the light. It'll look better, okay? So, these are not the same as the original cover composition. So this is originally by John Romita. And the way he did it, it was vertical, and he had the Falcon lurking in a kind of an alcove as this lady and Captain America walked down towards him, and she was saying, don't worry, you have nothing to fear. I'll just bring you to your friend. And meanwhile, he's turned into this gigantic, drooling werewolf who's about to eat him. So I thought it had a lot of menace. It was interesting. Personally, I like the Romita cover better, but like Graham likes this cover better, and I know a few other people do too, just because it has more action in it. But I have a healthy respect for these. So anyway, that's the Captain America. And then this is the Thor, 215 is it, okay? So this one is kind of interesting. This is a John Buscema cover, and there were actually a couple of mistakes on the cover that I discovered when I read the comic. Because first off, the colorist colored it like it was outdoors on Earth at Yosemite National Park or something. So they had like a bright blue sky, and it really looked like this great big like crystal purple monster. He'd look like he was like a rock formation that had come to life in Yosemite or something, right? But when I read the comic, I realized he was a crystal alien who lived on a crystal asteroid in outer space. And this is what the backgrounds looked like. It was all stars, right? They didn't have, a brilliant blue sky like we have on Earth, which is how they colored the cover. So I was like, okay, that's one thing I'm going to fix. The other thing is he had the character Carnilla locked up in this rose crystal, but according to the story, it's Carnilla and the Lady Sif locked up in there. So okay, that was the next thing I was going to fix. But apart from that, I thought that he'd actually chosen the right scene to illustrate, namely Thor breaking them out. So I illustrated the same scene, though obviously with a different composition. So that's Thor #215. Okay, and then, well, this is the last one, so I'll do this in the order I made them. Okay, so then this is Hulk 168, which happens to be the first appearance of the Harpy. Okay, and this cover was by Herb Trimp, who, when I was a kid, I really didn't like this guy's art very much, but when I was looking at this again, because to do these comics, I went and I bought them at auction, so I bought all of these again. Except for the Captain Marvel 26, because that one was really expensive. So and I was kind of annoyed by that. But anyway, and also actually Avengers #94, which was also an expensive comic. So in any event, but I got this one and I read it and I was like, Herb Trimp's actually a really good artist. And the cover he did was the Harpy with the Hulk in her claws about to drop him over Manhattan or some large city, right? And it had a lot of energy to it, a lot of dynamic energy. But when I read this story, I was thinking, this is more about how the Hulk is trying to be friends with this woman here, who actually becomes the Harpy, who then attacks him. So I thought, let's get that kind of romantic interest of the Hulk and this other person combined with that action. So that's what this is. Okay, so that's Hulk 168. Actually, this is Marvel Premiere #9. Now, this was one of my favorite comics when I was a kid, and my copy of Marvel Premiere 9 was absolutely trashed. It was like I'd run it through the laundry 20 or 30 times, something like that. It was awful, but I loved it. And it has a great Frank Bruner cover where Doctor Strange is holding the Ancient One in his arms. And there's all these clouds of smoke and mist and mysterious-looking stuff going on behind him, and he's got all these like Green Goblin guys coming out at him. That's these guys. So I read this story, and I was thinking, Bruner picked about the right scene. But one thing that you don't grasp from the way he illustrated it is that the Ancient One was warning Doctor Strange not to do something because there was all this bad stuff that was going to result. And I think it had to do with saving the Ancient One. It was like he was telling Doctor Strange, look, you have something else to deal with. Don't deal with me right now. I'm going to die, I know it, and that's just the way it's going to go. So anyway, I illustrated it this way. I still like Bruner's cover. And actually, I like all of the original covers quite a lot.
Beautiful covers, bro.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, so that's the Doctor Strange. And then this one I was really excited to do. This is Avengers number 104, I think, right? Yeah, 104. So the original cover to this is the only one of all these covers that I actually don't like. It's by John Buscema, and it shows the Scarlet Witch casting a hex like this, and then she's standing between the spread legs of a sentry, right? The sentries are huge, so he goes way off the screen. And then all around her you see all these defeated Avengers. I'm not going to say dead because they never die, right? So anyway, that cover never particularly appealed to me. But there is an aspect of that story that I loved, and that was right at the beginning, the way it opens up. What you have is you got the sentries, and they've been taken over by a mutant hunter who is using them to kill mutants, right? So he wants the Avengers, he wants the X-Men, he wants all these mutants to be destroyed. Meanwhile, the Avengers are going to this mountain on a remote island in order to defeat the sentries, right? But what they don't know is one of the sentries is a mutant himself. The robot sentry has been made into a mutant somehow. I forget how it happened. But in any event, this guy is Larry Trask, who's the son of the guy who invented the sentries, and he is helping Quicksilver find the Avengers. Okay, so the opening panel of this particular issue has the Quicksilver dashing off the plane with Trask hanging onto his neck this way, as they dash off to the mountain where all the Avengers are located. And I thought, that is just so exciting. I have to draw that. That really should have been the cover instead of this kind of dry picture of the Scarlet Witch casting a hex. I just thought this was much more exciting. In fact, I'm 56 years old. I'll be 57 pretty soon. And throughout all that time, let's say I found this when I was 7 years old at first, right? So 50 years ago, from that point until now, this image comes to mind frequently when I think of excitement. It's somebody hanging onto Quicksilver's neck as he runs flat out to save the Avengers from a mutant sentry. Okay, so this cover is from my own comic. This is the one that became a TV series, Harsh Realm. And the reason I did this is because first off, I never did the covers. When I first started working in comics, I guess nobody thought I was good enough to do covers, so I only did interiors. Meanwhile, they do these covers, and I never liked them. And that was the case with this comic also. But I had recently gotten a phone call from a producer in Hollywood who was telling me, you know what, the guy who was... Oh, you know what? I shouldn't say this. Well, let's just say there was some interest in this story again. Okay, so I thought, what the heck? I'll do a cover for that too. Okay, so I went ahead and did this. So this is the main character, Dexter Green, as he's leaving Game Corp to jump into Harsh Realm, and they do it naked, but I thought I'll give him some, underalls there, so he looks a little bit more decent. But in any event, this is this, and I have to tell you, painting all these rocks was a ton of fun doing that. But there's no well, actually, there is an original cover for this, but it's kind of hard to describe because, number one, I don't like it very much, and number two, the things I don't like about it make it so that it's easily forgotten. You ever see these covers? They're real common, actually, where you just have a superhero and he's like posing, right? That's all he's doing, and you got all this purple and green behind him. It's one of those kinds of covers. So it doesn't really have any story content to it. I like story content in my images, so that's why I put that in there. Anyway, that's the 6. I actually might have something else of interest in here. I just finished a couple of comics, one with Graham Nolan, the other with Chuck Dixon. Oh, got these huge original pages of art here. This is something I'm doing on my own. So I hadn't gotten my new glasses yet, so I was drawing really, really large. I mean, I think this is exactly twice the size of a normal comic book page, something like that. But this one is called Wildflowers, and it might seem like the kind of comic that you'd be selling to little girls, but not the case. This is a science fiction epic. So what this is Weehawken, New Jersey, after it's been turned into an asteroid floating in outer space, okay? And this person's had enough of it, and she wants to escape. Of course, it's impossible, but she wants to try anyway. So she's going to try and drive her truck through the dome, right? So let's show you the big double-page spread here. Now I've got this colored. Oh, shoot, I haven't. Some of these I haven't even finished inking them. Just a second. Oh, I don't have the other half of the spread, do I? Wait a minute, I must. Yeah, I've got more pages in here. There it is. So this is a little tricky to hold, but see that? So there she is going off the edge. And so then she's going to crash down below, and her horn's going to be honking, and people are going to have to go down to shut off the horn. But anyway, the idea with this story is that there is a network of asteroids that where the remaining humans live, and they've become a feudal system of government. And this woman is the caretaker of a prince and princess whose parents were just deposed on one of the other asteroids, and they were relegated to this particular asteroid that is doomed to sink into the sun and be gobbled up that way. So this is about how those two kids get rescued, and then how they have to make a very, very bad compromise with a bunch of aliens so that they can survive as a species. And then they have to take over the aliens' planet so that they can do so without being slaves. So that's what Wildflowers is about. In any event, those are one of the things I brought with me today, and the whole purpose was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse just came out, and I wanted to give this to Anthony. So, yeah, it's funny. When I got back to New York after living abroad for a long time, I thought it'd be fun to draw comics again. I wasn't sure if I would be any good at it because I've been out for so long. I was doing video games, and then I was working in the movie business. I worked on the Spider-Man movie, Daredevil, a little bit on X-Men too. And I was an art director, and I was thinking, Brian, it's been so long, but I really like drawing.
It's fun, man.
It would be fun to do it again. And so I did these, and then almost right away I started getting assignments. But all my old contacts are gone. I have no idea where any of these people. Well, actually, that's not true. Like Mike Carlin, I know. I contacted him, and he's like, he's not working anymore as an editor, and neither is Pat Garrahy from Marvel, and all the other people I knew. So I don't know very many people in the business anymore. Just the people who are other artists like me. So we'll see how it goes. But it is fun, and I don't even know who you are, but
we are the Council of Comics, sir.
Uh-huh.
And if you could state your full name and your business.
I'm Andrew Paquette. It's Paquette. About the only comics your viewers might know that I've done is Harsh Realm, which I did with writer Jim Hudnall back in the 90s. But seriously, I'm kind of unusual as a comic book artist because I worked as a comic artist in the 90s, and then I went into other industries, and I went to London and got a PhD there, and now I'm going back to comics. Okay, so I'm one of the few comic artists, if not the only one.
Comes back.
Yeah, I don't. How many comic artists do you know that have a PhD? Not too many.
Not too many.
Yeah, I don't know of any. I'm just assuming there might be more than one, because there's always more than one of anything, right? It doesn't matter what it is. So even the World Trade Center attack, there's two of them, right? Because they had one before the other. Okay, well, I hope that was fun for you.
Yeah. Shout out to Madness. Yeah. Rogue Nation 845.